In this video, guys, I'll be walking you through how to set up DBT on your system step by step. I'll also be explaining the various components in your DBT project. So when you install and set up DBT on your system, you'll see a number of folders and directories in your DBT project. I'll be giving a clear explanation to what those are. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Ben and this is my data journey. I'm using it as a medium where I share my experience, my learning journey, and my knowledge in data and analytics engineering. DBT is a tool that allows you to write data transformation using a regular SQL, but it also allows you to write modular SQL script. Now, what that simply means is that it allows you break your SQL script into modular forms. So an SQL script, say you write an SQL script, this single SQL script can have a particular business objective or business model, while another SQL script can have another business model or business transformation. And then this SQL script can then inherit or depend reference this SQL script. So you can import this SQL script into this one, right? So that is simply what it means, allowing you to write modular SQL queries or SQL scripts. Now, beyond just data transformation, DBT allows you to do a host of other things such as your version control or continuous development, testing and validation, documentation and lineage, and data governance, and others. So these are one of the major benefits of using DBT over regular SQL scripting, which is one of the major reasons why a lot of companies are trying to adopt DBT into their transformation and data workflows. So this is what makes DBT shine, along with the fact that it allows you write modular SQL scripts and then a whole host of other things. So before moving forward, is very important to know how DBT itself works, and it's a very simple process, right? So you have the entire DBT platform. Let's say this is the entire DBT platform. Here it allows you to develop, which means simply developing so picking from your raw data sets, right? It allows you to develop your business models, your logic, your transformations, and everything that you need your data to represent. This is where you get your development done. It allows you test and document, so just ensuring your data comes out the way it's expected to come out, and then document what your data means behind the scenes, and then also to deploy those data sets so that the end users, which are the downstream users, can make use of. So we have your data analysts, your business intelligence specialists, and the like, so that they can all have access to a central data set, to a single source of truth, instead of having different data across different versions of data across different places. So now this whole area is where DBT shines. So taking in your raw data, developing, testing, and deploying useful data to various end users. This right here is, let's say, a basic um this right here is a basic architecture of the flow of data between DBT and other systems. So at your top left here, you have your sources where your data originates from. So you may have various APIs, CSV files, IoT sensors, and various other sources, right? This data is then extracted and loaded into any sort of database or data warehouse. You could have Snowflake, Databricks, S3 buckets, or BigQuery, various or a number of them also. So once this data is loaded into once it's loaded into the warehouse. It's simply stored in the raw state. So at this point, it's not touched, right? You don't do anything on your raw data set. You don't transform it. You don't um you don't handle it in any way. You just take it and store it into the data warehouse. So we are extracting and loading into the data warehouse, which is the common process, which is the modern process that we follow nowadays. Before it was ETL, extract, transform, load, but now with the rise of big data data warehouses and the likes, we follow a more ELT approach. So ELT, extract, then load before moving on to the transforming stage. So at the transform stage, we have this is where our DBT comes into play. So we have our staging layer and our maths layer. Our staging layer is the primary transformation layer where we convert our raw data in where we transform our raw data into whatever useful process or data that we may need. So this is where you might change names, clean up the data, find out duplicates and others. So this is the important part where we ensure that our data is clean and ready to be used. Now, the maths layer is the business logic layer. This is where we are developing the entire business logic for our end users. So this is where we are doing more of transformation to make sure we are modeling business KPIs and metrics, ensuring that this single source of truth is picked up from various users at the end. So we are ensuring that multiple users from multiple different locations um, can access the data within this map layer, which is what has been prepared for them to use. So once this data is prepared, once the math layer is settled, sent over. It is then ready and prepared for the business intelligence analysts, data analysts, and operation analysts, and the likes. So to recap, our state role to recap, our role layer is simply our entrance for all our source data. No, no transformation, no touching, no nothing is being done on our raw layer. Our staging layer is where all our transformation, cleaning, and ensuring our data is useful is done. And then our maths layer is where all our business modeling and data modeling is carried out, which is then shipped off to the business intelligence and the data analyst. So under the hood of DBT, when you get into DBT and start working, here are the most common things you carry out in DBT. You transform your data, which is the primary reason for using DBT. You carry out tests on those transformations, document your data sets, and then deploy your transformed data. Now, it's also, like I said before, it allows for version controlling, scheduling, which allows you to automate processes and events, alerting, and then lineage. Now, lineage is simply being able to observe where your data came from and where it's going to. So it's very easy to observe it. And at the end of the whole process, you now have your transformed data handed over to your business intelligence users or your final data users. So now let's get started. First and foremost, you need to install DBT on your system if you've not installed it on your system locally. So just head over to their website, getdbt.com, or check browser, whatever you check Chrome or whatever browser you're using. And once you're here, just head over to their get started guide. On their Get Started guide, you will find instructions of how to install DBT on your system. So you can just, here we'll be using the DBT Fusion engine. So just click on DBT Fusion, and then if you go down here, you see install Fusion. It's a very simple procedure to install DBT on your local PC. So over here you can see we have for Mac OS, Linux and Windows. So whichever you use, you can just select and copy this code and then paste it on your terminal or PowerShell. So for Windows, we'll be using our PowerShell. So we'll copy this and head over to our PowerShell and paste it there. So we'll paste it and run it. I already have DBT installed on my system, so this won't install. But once, if you don't have and you run it, you will make sure it will install on your system. And then using this command dbtf version, you can check if it has been installed on your system. So all you do is just restart your PowerShell. You can copy this code to restart your PowerShell and then run dbtf version. And if it shows anything here, it means DBT Fusion has been installed on your system. So from here now, we can head over to our next step. So what we'll do next is to install DBT extension in your VS Code. You open up your VS Code and then go over to the extension, then search for DBT. And you want to install this one. Mine is already installed, so make sure you install this. And then once you install it, you're set and ready to use DBT on your system. So you can go ahead you can go ahead with starting a project. Now, before we start a project, for this DBT project, I'll be using BigQuery. So we have to set up our BigQuery accounts before we'll be able to, our BigQuery projects before we'll be able to use it in our DBT project. If you already have a Google Cloud account, it's very easy. You can just head over and click on BigQuery. If you do not have, you have to set up a Google Cloud account. You might need to install, sorry, you might need to set up your payments for billing. You might need to set in your credit card for billing. But if it's required, don't worry, they would not charge your account. Just put it up. You just put it up so you don't have any limitation while you're working. It gives you access to a lot of things. If you have a free trial, you can also use that. But I have my own billing setup, which it just makes things easier without having limits. But if you can go ahead without needing to open up billing to put in your credit card, then that is okay. So you can just create a project. Once you're in your Google Cloud accounts, you can create a new project. I should have some projects. I don't know why they're not showing. Okay, those are there. So you create a new project and call it whatever project you want to call it. Let me say new DBT project. Okay, no need to set anything here. Just click on create. Once that is created, you can just select your project. And your project is created. So just head over back here. Over here, you can see BigQuery. If you select it, it will just open up your BigQuery instance. But before we open up BigQuery, we'll have to set up our service account so that we can use our service key to authenticate in our DBT projects. So go to I am admin and then go to Go to service accounts. In the service account, you create the service account and then give it a service name, any name, um, new DBT project. You can use whatever name you want to. I'm just going along with this. So service account description, my DBT tutorial, create and continue. Select a row, you select owner and then continue. No need to put anything here, so just click on done. And now you have your service account set here. So we'll need to create a key for our service account. So click on this service account here and then you click on keys, then add key, create new key, JSON, select your JSON and create. So the moment it creates, it will download the JSON file into your system. I'll just rename that and call it, okay, new DBT project service key. Make sure you take notes of where your service key is being downloaded, because you need to reference it later on. Then save. So we are done here. You can just go over to Google Cloud, to BigQuery, and just open it. So BigQuery. Okay, so over here, this is your BigQuery data warehouse. Right, here is our project and everything under our project. Here is our data set, but for now there's nothing inside here. So we can now go over to VS Code and set up our DBT project. Over in our VS Code, you open up your terminal and then just go into the directory you want to initiate your DBT project. For me, that would be in documents, GitHub. Now that's inside here. I think I'll create a new directory to create the project inside. So make directory new DBT project. No need for this. New DBT project. And then enter inside. So inside here is where we want to initiate our DBT project. What you do here is DBT init. So initialize templated projects from DBT. These projects will contain some files in it, inside it, and those are the files I'll be using to explain the whole project. Now the files inside here, let's just go ahead, DBT initialize. So we can see it's created a project named Jaffa Shop. This is a templated dummy project that just comes when you initialize a DBT project. It comes with it. You can't really remove it. The only way to not have this project initialized using this Jaffa Shop project is to create the whole files and directory manually, and that way you won't have this setup. So here it says, would you profile Jaffa Shop already exists? How would you like to proceed? Add existing, overwrite completely. Yours might not ask you this. Your project might not ask you this question because this is not my first time doing the project. If it's your first time, it would not ask you this. You're starting afresh completely. So I'll overwrite completely. and this is where yours should start from. So you're to pick from Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, or any other. We'll be using BigQuery, and then project ID. For our project ID, that is what we are getting from our BigQuery account. So head over to BigQuery, and over here is your project ID. This guy here. You copy and then you go back to your projects and paste and enter. Data sets. For our data sets will just put in a name that you want to put in. You can put in transformed or anything else. I'll explain to you what data set is as we move on. Location, you can put in US, service accounts, and then provide. Then now you head over to where you downloaded your service key. So I saved mine here. That's here. This is where I saved mine. So just go to where you saved yours and then you copy the parts, then head back and paste it. Remove this, remove this, and continue. The profile job shop already exists, so yours will not have an existing profile, but I can continue. Just click yes if it does, and then continue. And so now your project is already initialized. Then click on open folder. Let me open my project. Okay. Then now you can open up your project and let's have a look at what is inside the project. So over here we can see dbt projects.yaml file. This file here, this is our configuration file. This is one of the major file in our dbt project. It's what allows us to configure our dbt project. So dbt projects.yaml file, you have the name, your profile, your paths, seeds, and models. Now for this profile, if you see having any error that says profile not found Jaffa shop, all you do is you check your project if you have any in your project, if you have any file, any folder named .dbt. So in your project directory, if you have any project, any folder here named .dbt, and your project is giving you an error that it can't find a profile named Jaffa shop, what you do is you cut away or you copy that directory, and then you go into your drive, then into users and into your user, and you paste the folder inside here. So inside that folder you have your profiles. So this is your profile for file. This is our configuration for our project. So as you can see, this is the Jaffa shop project I just initialized and the entire configuration with it. So we have Jaffa shop. This Jaffa shop indicates this Jaffa shop from our profile here. So we have Jaffa shop, type BigQuery. This is our our Google, our BigQuery project. Then this is a schema we named transform. This is our data sets that we named transform. And this is your key, your JSON service key over here. So this contains the configuration for your projects, which the DBT project would be using over here. Now these are configuration for your folders, seeds, models, and macros, and targets also. So I'll be explaining that later on. And then you have configuration over here for your seeds folder. So this configuration is for this folder, seeds. right? If you want to configure any folder inside here, you set up this is where you set it up in your DBT project. And you have configuration also for your models folder over here. So let's get first I'll start explaining our models folder to show you what it is and how it works. Now in our DBT projects we have all this folder here, and one of our, as a beginner, if you're just starting out, this models folder will be your most important or your most used. This is the folder you'll be working on 80% of the time, right? This is where you first be learning how to create DBT models in this place. So what DBT models simply is they are your SQL scripts for carrying out transformation or defining business logic or whatever it is that you need to define with SQL scripts. It will be done in your models directory. Every script that you write in your models directory is referred to as a DBT, is referred to as a model in DBT. So when they say you are to create models in DBT and optimize models in DBT, what they simply mean is write SQL scripts that's define a business logic or transformation. So over here we have maths and we have staging. Over here we have maths and we have staging. And if you recall, when I was explaining with the diagram, I showed you that the maths and staging are important layers in your DBT project. So if we head over to our diagram, so over here you can see your staging layer, which is very important, and your maths layer, which is very important also. So this they are just simply folders in your DBT project. The staging layer contains all our transformations. So it's transformation for customers, locations, orders, and every important transformation will be carried out in your staging layer. While your maths layer is where your business logic and business definition is being modeled. So over here we have customer order summary joined. In locations and others we have other all these are very simple templated business logic, but once you start writing out DBT models, your logic might be more complex than this or more straightforward than this. So let me start explaining with the staging. Over in our staging, we can see we have a sources.yml file. Most times, if you start a project, you might be the one to create this yourself. If you start a project, if you're starting a new project, you obviously have to delete all this, delete every file inside here, and then go ahead with what you want to start building. Now, what this simply explains here is this is our configuration for our sources. So this is the configuration for the sources for every model in our staging layer. So here we have stage customers, STG underscore customers, and this source here define where this STG customers will get its data from. If you go over here, you can see now it's saying ref raw customers, and it's referencing these raw customers inside here, but it's not yet using the configuration from these sources. It said here that this references CSV data. Try switching to ecom raw customer. So I'll show you in a bit. If we go over here, we can change this name to Apple Shop, or we can leave it like that. So let me go ahead and change the name to Jaffa Shop just to show you. Call this Jaffa Shop and save this. Then schema. This schema is where when we run our DBT model, our DBT project, all this data over here, right, it will be staged into our BigQuery data warehouse, and it will be using the name here as the name of the data set. So here is target.schema underscore raw. Our target.schema has been defined in our profiles.yaml file. So this is our schema transformed. And then here it simply means it will be transformed underscore raw to indicate that these are the raw files or raw data of our project. And then here we have the tables, raw customers, everything here represents a table. So we have the tables for that will be under that data set. If we go into our stage customers, the first thing we can do here is to try and reference our sources from Jaffle shop here. So it says try switching to ecom raw customers. So we remove this and then sources, then Jaffle shop. Let me remove that for a moment. Just put in Jaffle shop and then comma, then put in raw customers. You can copy this. What this simply means is that it will be referencing our source from here. So it will be referencing from Jaffle shop raw customers, which is this our raw customers tables under Jaffle shop. So we can also change that across every other project or every other stage file, sorry. Then raw stores. Okay, so now that we are done, it's just a simple project. We have an error here. Jaffle shop. Let's see. Missing schema. Okay, so we'll solve this in a bit. So if we go over to our BigQuery project, this is our data set. You can see that there's nothing inside. The first thing we want to do is we want to stage our seeds folder into our BigQuery warehouse. So here you run dbt seed and then run that. And now everything has been staged into your BigQuery project. So if we head over to BigQuery and we check that again, we can see we have our transformed raw data set with all these tables in it. You can check them if you wish to and explore them. But for now, we'll go back to our project and save this. I can see the error is gone. The error is gone. What error do we have here? No SKU found. So over here it's showing me I have an error saying no SKU, no column SKU found available as source ID, source name. So I think they gave it here is referencing an SKU. It's referencing a column that does not exist in the project. So you can just here we can see. So over here saying renamed as source, which is this is a CTA from this source table. So this is our source is referencing from. So we can just preview CTA to see what our columns are like. Just in case you're having this error. If you're not having it, then we have ID, we have name, because I guess that is all. So that is from them. Here we can just remove this SK since it doesn't exist. Remove this. Let's hope that error goes away. What is this? No column cost found. Of course, this does not exist. And it's only ID and name that exists. So I wonder why the rest are there. I'll just comment that out. I guess this will give us an error also. No column cost found. Number I've removed it now. Obviously, no column table found. Okay, so now it's triggered a problem here, product ID. So I'm going to remove that. Let's see. I have no idea gave why it gave a project with errors inside already, but we'll just work with it that way. So that is supplies from raw customers. Oh, it's me that made a mistake. I didn't switch this to raw supplies. So sorry guys. Let me hope I can undo everything I did. So I would save that. Is that all? I'll switch that back to raw supplies. Just raw supplies. Okay, and save that. Then I'll go to where I went to mess up something and undo it. Okay, so that is okay now. I just hope you guys, I hope you didn't mess up like I did. So in case you missed that, you can solve it with just by changing, ensuring all your references and typos are ensuring you don't have any typo, because like we all know, any small typo can cause very annoying errors. So now that we all have this setup, we can run our DBT projects, and then once we run our projects, it will stage all these models, to materialize all these models into our BigQuery warehouse. So let's do dbt run. Okay, and then hopefully yours also runs successfully if you followed every of my steps. So we can go back to BigQuery and check our table. So refresh this, and it's not here. Just go back to data sets, and you can see your transform data. So you can see from these are from our staging. These are from our staging layer and from our math layer. Here you can see we have type as tables and views, which is how they were materialized. Whereas materialization is a concept in DBT, how they materialize into our data warehouse. So over here, let's go back to our project, and then if you go over to your DBT project and check our models configuration, you can see here that you have materialized setting here as view and materialized setting here as table. So we are setting view for everything in our staging folder and table for everything in our maths folder. What materialization simply means is when these models are being created in our warehouse as tables and data sets, it should be created as a table or as a view. So if you're familiar with SQL, you should be familiar with this, and it's very important you're familiar with SQL before going into DBT. So this our models will materialize as a view or a table once it's set inside here. So those are the main things or the major things in our models folder. You can come here, and over here you can see a YAML file for each of our models. So here you have, these are also configurations for our model, and it's also where you can set tests. You can write tests for your models. I believe these are referred to as generic tests. So generic tests are inbuilt tests in DBT. You can just check if you can make sure there's not null and each value is unique in each of the record in this model. So you can have that for you can have that for every model that you have in your staging layer and also in your math layer. So you can see they are also here for your math layer. So now let's take our time and talk about the other folders in our DBT project. Now this is macros. The closest explanation I can give to macros is macros are functions. So if you've written any other programming language, Python, Java, JavaScript, those are basically what macros are. They are where you describe your functions for your DBT project. If you check your models, say here, you can see we have a source macro here. So this is also referred to as a macro in DBT. These are inbuilt macros where you can define your own macro. You can define your own macro inside this folder, just as you can define custom functions in your various programming languages. Then what else? We have seeds. Seeds are basically where you store files that rarely change. So CSV files or any other file you be taking. I believe mostly CSV. So they're just where you store files that rarely changes. While what else? Targets. No need to focus on target. Targets are just where your compiled codes are stored, and that's it for. There are some other folders that appear that come up when you're setting up your projects. We have an analysis folder. So let me just create that inside here. We should have an analysis folder. So this folder is mainly for writing scripts for testing. So in case you want to write scripts just to test or check the data in your project without wanting to convert those scripts into a model in your data warehouse, without wanting to convert them into a view or a table in your data warehouse, you can just create an analysis folder and create your scripts inside here. But you still have to configure that folder inside here. So you can go over here and write and this part, and then add that folder inside here. Okay, that's added it. So it's a very helpful folder if you don't want to. You can go to your DBT project, you can go to your BigQuery project and obviously run queries here, you know. But if in case you don't want to do that and you want to run your queries directly from inside here, you can do that in your analysis folder. So now I believe we've run our project and we can see everything has run successfully. So if you stay to the end, thank you very much for watching the video and see you in the next one.